Jaden stepped out of the air-conditioned car, stretching his arms as he took in the surroundings of Harmony Secondary School. The sun burned fiercely over the western Nigerian town, and the school compound was alive with students chatting, laughing, and going about their day. The moment his polished shoes touched the dusty ground, his lips curled into a smirk. "I think I'm going to enjoy my stay here," he thought. Jaden was no ordinary youth, corporate. He was the only son of Madam Grace, a wealthy businesswoman who had shielded him from hardship his entire life. Growing up in the luxurious confines of Glencoe, he had never lacked anything. Money, power, and influence had always been at his fingertips. And now, for the first time, he was far from home, far from his mother's watchful eyes. "Welcome to Harmony Secondary School, Mr. Jaden," the principal, Mr. Adebayo, greeted, extending his hand. He was a strict-looking man, in his 50s, dressed in neatly pressed trousers and a starched white shirt. "I trust you'll find your stay here both challenging and rewarding." Jaden flashed his most charming smile, shaking the older man's hand. "Thank you, sir. I'm looking forward to making a positive impact." The principal nodded approvingly, unaware of the dangerous thoughts running through Jaden's mind. As they walked towards the staff room, Jaden's eyes wandered. The school was filled with students in neat uniforms, especially the senior girls. A particular group caught his attention: 3 girls at the far end of the compound. They stood together, whispering and giggling, their perfectly pressed skirts swaying as they shifted their weight from one foot to another. "Interesting," Jaden mused, licking his lips subtly. After completing the necessary documentation, Mr. Adebayo led him to his assigned classroom. "You'll be teaching physics to our senior girls," he explained. "It's a critical subject for their final exams, and we are counting on you to prepare them well." Jaden's interest peaked. He had studied physics at university, but the thought of teaching was never appealing. However, teaching senior girls, that was a different story. When he stepped into the classroom, 30 pairs of eyes turned toward him. He could feel their curiosity, their admiration. "Good morning, class," Jaden greeted, his voice smooth and confident. "Good morning, sir," the students chorused, their voices ringing through the room. Among them were Joy, Bella, and Precious, the self-proclaimed prettiest girls in school PGs. Their reputation preceded them. They were the envy of their classmates, admired for their beauty and charm. As Jaden began his first lesson, he made sure to leave a lasting impression. He spoke with authority, confidence, and just the right amount of humor. He could see the admiration in the eyes of the students, but more importantly, he noticed how Joy, Bella, and Precious leaned in just a little closer, hanging on to his every word. "This is going to be easier than I thought," Jaden smirked inwardly. After class, as the students began to file out, the 3 girls lingered behind. "Sir," Bella spoke first, her voice laced with admiration. "That was the best physics lesson we've ever had." Jaden chuckled, rubbing the back of his head. "I'm glad you enjoyed it. Physics isn't so bad when you have the right teacher." Joy batted her eyelashes. "We were wondering, would you be available for extra tutoring? We really want to excel in our exam." Jaden pretended to consider, even though he had already made up his mind. "Well, I suppose I can make some time for dedicated students. Why don't we discuss it after school tomorrow?" The girls exchanged excited glances before nodding. "That would be great, sir." As they left the classroom, Jaden watched them go, a slow grin creeping onto his face. "They think they're playing a game," he mused, "but I'm the one in control." This was only the beginning. Jaden quickly became the most talked about teacher at Harmony Secondary School. The students admired him, the teachers respected him, and the school principal, Mr. Adebayo, often praised his engaging teaching methods. But while everyone saw a young, energetic teacher dedicated to his students, Jaden had his eyes set on something else: his personal pleasures. Among all his students, 3 girls stood out the most: Joy, Bella, and Precious, the prettiest girls in school PGs. They were confident, popular, and always at the center of attention, and Jaden loved attention. He made sure to build his charm around them, giving them special smiles during class, calling their names frequently in examples, and complimenting their intelligence. It didn't take long before they started competing for his approval. One day, after a particularly engaging physics lesson, Joy approached him as the class emptied out. "Sir," she said softly, twisting the hem of her uniform, "I just wanted to say I really enjoy your classes." Jaden smiled. "I'm glad to hear that, Joy. You're a bright student." She bit her lip, hesitating before adding, "Would you mind tutoring me after school? I want to make sure I pass physics with flying colors." Jaden leaned back against his desk, pretending to consider. "Well, I don't usually do private tutoring, but for a serious student like you, I can make an exception." Joy beamed. "Thank you so much, sir." Jaden watched as she hurried off to tell her friends. He smirked to himself. The trap was set. That afternoon, in the teacher quarters, Jaden sat in his room, his shirt unbuttoned slightly, as he waited. A knock at the door made his heart race. Joy entered shyly, her school bag clutched in front of her. "Welcome, Joy," Jaden said smoothly. "Come sit next to me." She obeyed, settling down on the chair beside him. He flipped open a textbook, explaining a complex physics problem, his voice low and patient. But as the minutes passed, he let his arm brush against hers, his fingers occasionally grazing her wrist as he turned pages. Joy tensed slightly, but didn't move away. "You're doing great," he murmured. "You're such a smart girl, Joy." She blushed. "Thank you, sir." Jaden's hand rested on her shoulder, squeezing gently. "You know, you're very special. A girl like you deserves attention from someone who truly appreciates her." Joy swallowed, unsure of what to say. Her heart raced, a mix of excitement and confusion swirling in her chest. A sudden knock on the door made her jerk away. "Sir?" It was Bella's voice. Jaden's smirk widened. He stood up, straightened his shirt, and opened the door. Bella and Precious stood there, looking eager. "We wanted to ask if we could join the study session," Bella said sweetly. "Physics is really difficult for us too," Jaden chuckled, stepping aside. "Of course, the more, the merrier." As the three girls settled in, he knew he had them exactly where he wanted them. This was just the beginning of his twisted game. Jaden's reputation at Harmony Secondary School continued to grow. Teachers admired his ability to engage students, while the principal, Mr. Adebayo, saw him as an asset to the school. But behind closed doors, Jaden was weaving a dangerous web, manipulating his position to take advantage of vulnerable students. It started slyly. After gaining the trust of Joy, Bella, and Precious, Jaden offered to tutor them privately. At first, the sessions were innocent, focused on physics and exam preparation. But soon his methods changed. During one of their study sessions, Jaden leaned in closer to Joy, his voice softer than usual. "You're very intelligent, Joy," he said, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "With the right guidance, you can go far." Joy felt a strange mix of pride and discomfort, but she dismissed the feeling. After all, he was a teacher. He was supposed to care about his students. Over time, Jaden played with their emotions, making each girl feel special. He gave them unnecessary attention, praised them constantly, and created an unhealthy dependence on his approval. "You are my best student," he whispered to Bella one day after class. "You're different from the others," he told Precious during a study session. "I believe in you more than anyone else," he assured Joy, unknowingly. The girls began competing for his attention, each wanting to be the one he favored most. Jaden's influence over the students at Harmony Secondary School grew rapidly. He had positioned himself as the most charismatic teacher in the school, blending intelligence with charm. Students admired him, teachers respected him, and even the school principal, Mr. Adebayo, saw him as an asset. But while everyone else saw a brilliant young physics teacher, Joy, Bella, and Precious, the prettiest girls in school PGs, saw something different. They saw a man who gave them special attention, who smiled at them more than the others, who made them feel special. And Jaden knew exactly what he was doing. The manipulation began one afternoon after the last class. Jaden approached Joy as she packed her books. "Joy," he called, his deep voice smooth and inviting. "A moment, please." Joy's heart skipped a beat. She tucked her hair behind her ear and turned toward him. Yes, sir. Jaden smiled. I noticed you struggled with today's lesson on electricity. Would you like some extra tutoring after school? She hesitated. Physics had always been difficult for her, and she wanted to impress him. Yes, sir. That would be great. Good. Jaden said, his voice gentle. Meet me in the staff room at 4:00 p.m. We'll go over everything together. A growing pattern. What started with Joy soon extended to Bella and Precious. One by one, he invited them for private tutoring sessions, always using their academic struggles as an excuse. During these sessions, Jaden carefully built his influence over them. He praised them excessively, telling them they were different from the others. He offered compliments beyond academics. Bella, you're not just smart, you're elegant. Precious, I see so much potential in you. Joy, you're special. You don't even know how much. Each his approval, eager to be his favorite. They didn't realize they were being manipulated. Warning signs began to show. Other students noticed the growing closeness between Jaden and the PG's girls. Whispers began spreading through the school. Why does Mr. Jaden always spend time with those three? Have you seen how they act around him? He gives them higher grades than everyone else. Even Miss Carol, the school's strict biology teacher, began to notice. She observed how the three girls lingered around Jaden's classroom, giggling in a way that didn't seem right. One day, she decided to confront him. Mr. Jaden, she said, stopping him in the hallway. I've noticed that you spend a lot of time with certain students. Jaden laughed lightly. Miss Carol, they are struggling in physics. I'm simply doing my job as their teacher. Miss Carol frowned. Just be careful, Jaden. These are young girls. Boundaries must be maintained. Jaden put on his most charming smile. Of course, ma'am. I would never do anything inappropriate. But deep down, he knew his game was only beginning. As the weeks passed, Jaden's influence over Joy, Bella, and Precious deepened. What had started as extra tutoring sessions slowly turned into private meetings, late-night text messages, and secret conversations that no one else was supposed to know about. The girls, blinded by admiration, didn't see the signs. They competed for his attention, each believing she was special, and Jaden, knowing exactly how to manipulate emotions, encouraged it. You are different from the rest. I trust you more than anyone else. Promise me you won't tell anyone about our time together. The lines began to blur. One evening, during a tutoring session at Precious's house, the atmosphere shifted. They had been solving a complex physics problem when Jaden suddenly leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. You're really intelligent, Precious, he said, his eyes holding hers. Most students struggle with this, but you have something special. Precious blushed, looking away. Thank you, sir. He reached out, lightly touching her hand. Call me Jaden when we're alone. Her breath caught in her throat. Oh, she felt a rush of excitement. He had never let any other student call him by his first name. Did this mean she was special? Jaden smiled. The trap was tightening, a growing divide. Back at school, tensions among the PG's girls began to rise. Why does Mr. Jaden always call on you in class? Bella asked Joy one afternoon. He barely looks at me these days. Joy rolled her eyes. Maybe because I actually study. Precious crossed her arms. Or maybe he just likes you more. The friendship between them was beginning to crack, but none of them realized they were being played against each other. Meanwhile, Miss Carol continued, watching closely. Something wasn't right. She noticed how the girls behaved differently, how their focus in class was slipping, how they whispered amongst themselves more than before. And the final warning sign, their grades were mysteriously improving. Only in physics. One afternoon, Miss Carol decided to investigate. She called Bella aside after class. Bella, is everything all right? She asked gently. You've been distracted lately. Bella hesitated. I'm fine, ma'am. Miss Carol narrowed her eyes. Are you sure? You and your friends seem different. Has something been happening with Mr. Jaden? Bella's eyes widened slightly, but she quickly shook her head. No, ma'am. Mr. Jaden is just helping us with physics. Miss? Carol sighed. She could tell Bella was hiding something. The seed of doubt had been planted. Something was very wrong, and soon the truth would come out. The tension between Joy, Bella, and Precious had reached its peak. The once inseparable friends now barely spoke to each other, each secretly wondering if she was the one Mr. Jaden truly cared about. Jaden had succeeded in isolating them, making each girl feel special yet insecure. His words were carefully chosen, his actions deliberate. You're the only one I can really talk to. Don't let anyone come between us. If people find out, they won't understand. Each girl held on to these words, believing she was the only one. But the cracks were starting to show. One fateful afternoon, Miss Carol was walking past the empty classrooms when she heard hushed voices coming from inside Jaden's office. She paused. The door was slightly open. You're my favorite, Joy. You have to trust me. Jaden's voice was low, almost coaxing. Miss Carol's breath hitched. Something was very wrong. She took a deep breath and knocked loudly. Mr. Jaden? A rustling sound came from inside, followed by hurried footsteps. A moment later, Joy stepped out, her face flushed, her eyes darting nervously. Miss Carol glanced at Jaden, who stood inside the office, his expression calm to calm. What's going on here? She asked, folding her arms. Jaden chuckled, leaning against his desk. Oh, Miss Carol. Joy was just asking for some extra help with physics. Joy nodded quickly, avoiding eye contact. Yes, ma'am, that's all. But Miss Carol wasn't convinced. She watched as Joy walked away, her shoulders tense, her hands clenched in two fists. Something wasn't right, and she was going to find out what it was. A few days later, during biology class, something unexpected happened. Joy suddenly raised her hand. Ma, I don't feel well, she whispered. Before Miss Carol could respond, Bella also stood up, clutching her stomach. Then Precious followed. Miss Carol's heart pounded. All three of you? The girls barely made it out of the class before rushing to the school clinic. Concerned, Miss Carol followed. Inside the clinic, Dr. Margaret, the school nurse, conducted a few routine tests. Her face darkened as she read the results. She took a deep breath and turned to the girls. I need you all to be honest with me. Have you been involved with anyone? Silence. Then slowly, tears filled Joy's eyes. Miss Carol's stomach twisted. The truth was about to come out. The next morning, Mr. Adebayo, the principal, called Jaden into his office. His expression was grave. Across from him sat Miss Carol and Dr. Margaret. Mr. Jaden, the principal's voice was firm. We have received disturbing reports from some of your students. Jaden kept his face neutral, but his heart raced. Sir, I don't understand. Miss Carol leaned forward. 3 girls, Joy, Bella, and Precious, are pregnant. Jaden's breath caught. And they all have one thing in common, Mr. Adebayo continued. You. For the first time, Jaden had no words. The net was closing in. The truth was finally out. Jaden sat's office, his usual confident smirk replaced by a blank stare. 3 students, Joy, Bella, and Precious, have come forward. They all say you manipulated them into private meetings. They all claim you made them feel special. Jaden forced a chuckle. I only helped my students. I did nothing wrong. Dr. Margaret slid a file across the desk. They are all pregnant. Jaden's silence was deafening. His throat went dry, his mind racing for an escape. An excuse-anything. Mr. Adebayo's voice was cold. And they all pointed at you. News spread through the school like wildfire. Whispers in the corridors turned into loud discussions. Some refused to believe it. Mr. Jaden? No way. He was the best teacher. The girls must be lying. But as more evidence surfaced, text messages, witnesses, and hidden conversations, the truth became undeniable. Joy, Bella, and Precious sat together in the school clinic, their eyes filled with fear and regret. I thought he cared about me, Bella whispered, tears slipping down her face. He made me feel important, Precious admitted, voice shaking. Joy clenched her fists. I trusted him, and he destroyed my life. Miss Carol sat beside them, her heart heavy. None of this is your fault. He used his power against you, but the damage was already done. That evening, Madam Grace, Jaden's mother, stormed into the principal's office, her expensive perfume clouding the air. "My son is innocent," she declared. "These girls are framing, Minister." Adebayo placed a folder of evidence in front of her. "Read this, and then tell me if he's innocent." As she flipped through the pages, records of private tutoring sessions, inappropriate messages, and student testimonies, her face paled. She turned to Jaden. "Tell me this is all a lie." Jaden looked away. Madam Grace staggered back. Reality sinking in. She had enabled this. She had raised a son who never faced consequences, who thought he could take whatever he wanted without repercussion. Tears filled her eyes. "Jaden, what have you done?" By morning, the police arrived. Jaden, once the most admired teacher in the school, was handcuffed in front of everyone. Students watched in shock. Some gasped, others whispered. Joy, Bella, and Precious stood at the back, watching the man who had controlled them. Finally, face justice.as he was led away. Mr. Adebayo addressed the school assembly. "This is why we must always speak up. No one is above accountability. If someone in power abuses you, you must never stay silent." For the first time in years, the school felt safe again. This story serves as a lesson. Power must never be abused, and victims must never be silenced. Have you ever witnessed an abuse of power? Do you believe schools should do more to protect students? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you found this story insightful, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's create awareness together.